Her ex pushed her down the stairs and ran. But a mafia boss saw everything through the window, and he recognized her necklace. It proved she was heir to a criminal fortune she never knew existed. He saved her life that night. Now he's protecting her from enemies she didn't know she had. The cardboard box wasn't heavy, but Lena's hands trembled as she carried it up the dimly lit stairwell. Inside were the last pieces of Tyson, a wrinkled hoodie that still smelled like his cologne, a charging cable he'd left behind, and 3 framed photos she couldn't bear to look at anymore. 3 months of dating, 2 weeks of silence, and now this awkward meeting at 10 p.m. in her dorm's back stairwell because he'd refused to come to her room. "Just leave it on the landing," she'd texted him.
No.
"I want to talk," he'd replied. That should have been her first warning. The November air bit through the broken window on the 3rd floor landing, making her wish she'd worn more than leggings and an oversized sweater. Her breath formed small clouds as she climbed, the metal railing cold beneath her palm. Boston University's oldest dormitory had character, her mom had said during move-in. What it actually had was terrible heating, creaky floors, and stairwells that smelled faintly of mildew and old cigarettes. Tyson was waiting on the 4th floor landing, leaning against the wall, with his phone in his hand. He didn't look up when she arrived, just kept scrolling through whatever app held his attention. His jaw was tight, that familiar clench that meant he was already angry about something. Here, Lena set the box down between them, careful not to let it touch his expensive sneakers. "I think that's everything." "You think?" He finally looked at her, his blue eyes cold. "You didn't even check properly, did you?" "Tyson, I spent 2 hours going through my entire room." "Of course you did. Super thorough, Lena. Just like how you were super thorough when you blindsided me by breaking up over text." He kicked the box, and the hoodie spilled onto the concrete. "In front of my entire frat, by the way. Jake saw the message over my shoulder. Do you know how that made me look?" Lena's chest tightened. They'd been over this already, over text, because he'd refused to meet in person until tonight. "You cheated on me with someone from Theta. What was I supposed to do?" "It was one kiss at a party." His voice bounced off the concrete walls, louder than she'd expected. "You're acting like I slept with her. You told Marcus you wished you had." The words came out steadier than she felt. "He told Sarah." "Sarah told me." Tyson's face flushed red. For a moment, he just stared at her, breathing hard through his nose. Then he laughed, that sharp, bitter sound she'd learned to dread during their last few weeks together. "So, you're just going to believe gossip? That's what we're doing now." "I'm done arguing about this." Lena turned toward the stairs, her heart hammering. Every instinct screamed at her to leave, to get back to her room where her roommate Jess was probably already asleep. "I'm sorry if you felt embarrassed, but..." His hand caught her wrist, spinning her back around. "You don't get to walk away from me. Let go." Her voice came out smaller than she intended. "You made me look like an idiot, Lena. Do you understand that?" His grip tightened, his face inches from hers now. She could smell beer on his breath, which meant he'd been drinking before coming here, which meant this was already worse than she'd thought. "My brothers think I'm a joke, because some freshman dumped me. You're hurting me."
Good.
Maybe you'll actually listen for once. What happened next occurred in fragments like a video skipping frames. Tyson shoved her, not hard, not really, just enough to make his point. But Lena's sneaker caught the edge of the top step. Her arms windmilled, grasping at air, at the railing, at anything. The world tilted sideways. Then gravity took over. Her shoulder hit first, concrete meeting bone with a sickening crack. Then her hip. Her head bounced off a step, and suddenly she was tumbling, the stairwell spinning around her in a chaos of gray walls and yellow emergency lights. She tried to catch herself, but her hands only scraped uselessly against the rough surface. She came to rest on the landing between floors 3 and 4, her body twisted at an angle that didn't feel right. Pain radiated from everywhere at once, her shoulder screaming, her head throbbing, something warm and wet trickling down her temple. Above her, Tyson's face appeared over the railing, his eyes wide with something that might have been fear or might have been anger. She couldn't tell anymore. Lena? Shit, Lena, get up. Come on, don't be dramatic. She tried to speak, but only a whimper came out. Her vision blurred at the edges, dark spots dancing across her field of view. Fuck, Tyson's footsteps echoed as he started down the stairs toward her, then stopped. Fuck, fuck, fuck. Through the broken window, the one that should have been fixed weeks ago, Lena heard car doors slamming. Voices in the alley below, deep and urgent. Tyson heard them too because his footsteps suddenly reversed direction, running up instead of down. I'm sorry, he called back, already fleeing. I'm sorry, but you can't. You can't tell anyone I was here. Lena? Lena. Then he was gone, the stairwell door banging shut above her. Lena lay there, staring up at the water-stained ceiling, unable to move. Her pendant, the silver one her mom had given her on her 18th birthday, had come loose from beneath her sweater. It caught the dim light, the engraved crest on its surface gleaming. More voices now, closer. Footsteps pounding up the stairs. She wanted to call for help, but her tongue felt thick and heavy. A shadow fell across her face. A man knelt beside her, tall, dark-haired, wearing an expensive coat that seemed out of place in this run-down stairwell. His face was sharp and angular, his dark eyes scanning her injuries with an intensity that should have frightened her, but somehow didn't. Don't move, his voice was calm, controlled, like he'd done this before. He pulled out his phone. Marcus, I need an ambulance at the BU West dormitory back entrance. 4th floor stairwell. Female, early 20s, had injury and possible fractures. Quiet approach. No lights until you're at the door. He ended the call and looked back at her. His gaze caught on her pendant, and something flickered across his face. Recognition, maybe, or surprise.
His jaw tightened.
You're going to be fine, he said, and somehow she believed him. What's your name? Lena, she managed to whisper. Lena, he nodded once, like he was filing it away.
I'm Victor.
Try to stay awake for me, okay? Help is coming. My ex, he pushed. The words came out jumbled, confused. I know. I saw. Victor's expression hardened into something dangerous. He glanced up the stairwell where Tyson had disappeared, then back at her. And I'm going to make sure he never touches you again. Somewhere in the distance, sirens began to wail. The first thing Lena noticed was the beeping. Steady, rhythmic, annoyingly persistent. The second thing was the pain, a dull throb in her shoulder that sharpened when she tried to move. Her eyes cracked open to fluorescent lights that felt like knives stabbing into her skull. Easy there, a nurse appeared above her. Older woman with kind eyes and purple scrubs. You're at Massachusetts, General. You took quite a fall last night. How are you feeling? Like I fell down concrete stairs, Lena croaked. Her mouth tasted like cotton and antiseptic. The nurse smiled. Well, you're lucky. No major fractures. Severe bruising, a mild concussion, and some nasty scrapes, but nothing that won't heal. We've got you on pain medication. She checked the 4 line in Lena's arm. Your mother's in the waiting room. Should I get her? Please. As the nurse left, Lena carefully turned her head to look around. Standard hospital room. Beige walls, uncomfortable chair by the window, a small TV mounted in the corner. But through the window in her door, she could see someone standing in the hallway. Not her mother. A man in a dark coat, hands in his pockets, watching. Not watching the hallway. Watching her room. The door opened and her mother rushed in, eyes red and swollen. Oh, baby, Elena Reyes pulled the chair close and grabbed Lena's hand, careful to avoid the 4. They called me at 3 in the morning. I almost had a heart attack.
I'm okay, Mom.
I promise. The nurse said you fell down the stairs at your dorm. What were you doing in the stairwell that late? Her mother's grip tightened. Were you with someone? The memory crashed back, Tyson's angry face, his hand on her wrist, the world tilting as she fell. Then Victor, kneeling beside her with those intense dark eyes, recognizing something about her pendant. I was returning Tyson's stuff, Lena said quietly. We argued. He pushed me. Her mother's face went white, then red. He what? That little. I'm calling the police right now. Where's my phone? Mom, wait, Lena squeezed her hand.
Someone saw.
Someone who stopped to help. He called the ambulance.
Who?
The police said you were brought in by anonymous Good Samaritans. Elena's voice cracked on the last word. Plural. Like there were multiple people, but nobody left names or contact information. The hospital has no idea who they were. Victor had specifically told his people to stay quiet. But why? Do you know what happened to my things? Lena asked. My bag, my phone. The hospital said you didn't have anything with you when you arrived. Just the clothes on your back, her mother hesitated. And your pendant. You were clutching it so tightly they had to pry your fingers open. Lena's hand went to her neck. The pendant was still there, the familiar weight of it resting against her collarbone. The engraved crest, 3 sailing ships crossing waves beneath a crown, felt warm against her skin. This was Dad's, wasn't it? The question came out before she could stop it. You never talk about him, but this was his family's crest. I found the same symbol in an old photo album once. Her mother's face shuddered closed. Lena, you need to rest. Mom. Elena looked away, toward the window where the man in the dark coat still stood watch. Something like fear flickered across her face.
Yes.
It was your father's. It's the only thing I have left of him. What does it mean? The ships and the crown. It means you should never take it off. Her mother's voice went hard in a way Lena had never heard before. Promise me, Mija. No matter what happens, you keep that pendant with you always. Before Lena could ask why, the nurse returned. Everything looking good in here? Oh, and Miss Reyes, the gentleman who's been waiting outside, asked if he could speak with you briefly. Said he's a witness from last night. Lena's pulse quickened. What does he look like? Tall, dark hair, expensive suit. Very polite. The nurse lowered her voice conspiratorially. And very handsome, if you don't mind me saying. Asked about you 3 times already. Your boyfriend. No, but Lena's stomach did a strange flip anyway. Can he come in? Her mother stood abruptly. Absolutely not. My daughter needs rest, not visitors.
Mom.
I'll go talk to him. Elena kissed Lena's forehead, but her hands were shaking. You stay here. Don't talk to anyone until I get back, understand? She left before Lena could argue, pulling the door shut firmly behind her. Through the window, Lena watched her mother approach Victor. Because it had to be Victor. Who else would be waiting? And start speaking rapidly, hands gesturing sharply. Victor listened calmly, his expression unreadable. Then he said something that made her mother freeze. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out something small, Lena couldn't see what, and showed it to her. Elena's hand flew to her mouth. Victor spoke again, gesturing to Lena's room. Her mother shook her head violently, but Victor's expression remained patient, almost sympathetic. He put whatever he'd shown her back in his pocket and handed her mother a card. Elena stared at the card for a long moment, then looked back through the window at Lena. The fear in her eyes had transformed into something else. Terror. Her mother turned back to Victor, said something sharp, and walked away down the hall without coming back to the room. Victor remained in the hallway, that calm, watchful presence. He looked directly at Lena through the window, and even from this distance, she could see the weight of secrets in his eyes.
Her phone was missing.
Her mother was terrified. And a stranger who'd saved her life was standing guard outside her hospital room like he expected something bad to happen. The beeping of the heart monitor seemed louder now, faster, matching the rhythm of her growing dread. Tyson's hands wouldn't stop shaking. He'd been sitting in his Jeep for the past 4 hours, parked in a 24-hour diner lot 3 miles from campus, staring at his phone like it might explode. The coffee he'd ordered at 6 a.m. sat cold and untouched in the cup holder. Every time headlights swept past, his heart jumped into his throat. Someone had seen him. Someone had dragged him away from Lena before he could check if she was okay, before he could call for help, before he could do anything except run like a coward. He remembered hands, strong, unforgiving hands, gripping his arms as he tried to flee down the back stairs. A voice in his ear, cold and flat. Keep walking.
Don't look back.
Don't make a sound. They'd escorted him out through the alley, 3 men in dark clothes who moved like shadows. The one in charge, tall guy with a scar along his jaw, had gotten right in his face. You're going to forget you were here tonight. Understand? I didn't mean to. She just fell, it was an accident. I don't care what it was, the man's breath had smelled like mint and menace. You're going to go home, keep your mouth shut, and pray we don't come looking for you. Then they'd disappeared into a black SUV, and Tyson had run. Now, as weak morning light filtered through the diner windows, his phone buzzed. Unknown number. His thumb hovered over the decline button, but something made him answer. Hello? Tyson Mitchell? The voice was male, smooth, controlled. Not one of the men from last night. Who is this? Someone who watched you push a girl down a flight of stairs. Someone who knows exactly where you live, what classes you take, and which fraternity brothers would be very interested to learn what you did last night. Tyson's blood turned to ice. I didn't push her. She tripped. A soft laugh. Is that what you're going with? Because I have 3 witnesses who saw otherwise. So here's how this works. You stay away from Lena Reyes. You don't call her, you don't text her, you don't so much as look at her if you pass her on campus. You pretend she doesn't exist. Or what? Or I stop being nice, the line went dead. Tyson threw his phone onto the passenger seat, breathing hard. This didn't make sense. Lena didn't have anyone, no brothers, no protective cousins, no psycho ex-boyfriends who could mobilize a crew of thugs overnight. She was just a freshman from some nowhere town in Connecticut, studying English literature and working part-time at the campus bookstore. Unless her new boyfriend was behind this. That made sense. She'd been spending time with someone, Tyson had heard rumors. Some older guy, probably a senior or grad student with connections. That had to be it. Lena had run crying to her new man, and now he was trying to intimidate Tyson into silence. Well, screw that. He started the Jeep and headed back toward campus. If Lena thought she could scare him, she had another thing coming. He'd find a roommate, just something, and get some answers. Maybe even find out who this mysterious boyfriend was, and have a conversation man to man. The campus was quiet this early on a Saturday morning, most students sleeping off their Friday night parties. Tyson parked behind the library and walked quickly toward the west dormitory, hood up, hands in his pockets. His heart hammered with every step, but anger pushed him forward. The dorm's front desk was unstaffed, typical weekend laziness. Tyson slipped inside and took the elevator to the 6th floor, where Lena and Jess shared a corner room. He knocked softly. No answer. He knocked harder. Jess? It's Tyson. I need to talk to you about Lena. The door cracked open, security chains still attached. Jess's face appeared in the gap, eyes wide. What the hell are you doing here? I need to know who Lena's been seeing. The new guy. There is no new guy, you psycho. Now get out of here, before I call campus security. Don't lie to me. Tyson slammed his palm against the door. Someone called me this morning, threatened me. Someone with resources. That means someone with money, with connections. So, who is he? Jess tried to close the door, but Tyson shoved his foot in the gap. Just give me a name. I don't know what you're talking about. Lena hasn't been dating anyone since she dumped your cheating ass. Now remove your foot or I'm screaming. Behind Jess, someone else appeared, her boyfriend, Marcus, a linebacker on the football team. He didn't say anything, just looked at Tyson with cold eyes and started unhooking the security chain. Tyson removed his foot and backed away.
Fine.
Forget it. He took the stairs down, pulse racing. If Lena wasn't seeing anyone, then who had called him? Who had dragged him out of that stairwell? His phone buzzed again. Another unknown number, but this time it was a text message. No words, just a photo. Tyson stopped dead in the stairwell. It was a picture of him from last night, taken from across the alley. The timestamp read 10:14 p.m. In the image, He was clearly visible through the broken stairwell window, his hand extended mid-shove, Lena falling backward. A second text arrived. Delete this from your mind, or I'll make sure everyone else sees it. Tyson's legs gave out. He sat down hard on the step, staring at the photo. Whoever had taken this wasn't some college boyfriend. This was professional. This was serious. This was someone he'd made a very, very big mistake antagonizing. His phone rang again, a third unknown number. Against every instinct, he answered. Heavy breathing on the other end. Then a voice, rough and accented. You're the ex-boyfriend, yes? The one who hurt the Alvarez girl? I don't know anyone named Alvarez.
No?
Then perhaps we should meet. I have questions about your girlfriend. Or should I say, her inheritance. The line went dead. Tyson sat in the empty stairwell, his world crumbling around him, finally understanding that pushing Lena had set something in motion that he couldn't stop. Something far worse than angry phone calls. Victor Marino's office occupied the top floor of a renovated warehouse in South Boston, far enough from the tourist areas to avoid attention but close enough to the waterfront to keep watch over the city's pulse. The space was elegant in its simplicity, dark wood floors, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the harbor, and very little furniture. Victor had learned long ago that the less you owned, the less could be used against you. He stood at the window now, watching dawn paint the water gold and orange, the pendant he'd photographed at the hospital weighing heavy in his mind. That crest. Those 3 ships. He hadn't seen that symbol in 20 years, not since his mentor had shown him a faded photograph and told him about the Alvarez family. The girl's awake, Marcus said from the doorway. Victor's second-in-command was built like a tank but moved like smoke, a useful combination in their line of work. Hospital says she'll be released this afternoon. The mother's not talking to anyone. She recognized the crest when I showed her the photo, Victor said quietly. Confirmed what I suspected. You think the girl knows who she is? No, Victor turned from the window. If she knew, she wouldn't be living in a dorm with a roommate, working retail, dating fraternity boys. Elena Reyes has kept her daughter completely in the dark. Smart woman. The Alvarez name attracts sharks. Victor moved to his desk, where his intelligence chief, Sarah Chin, had left a manila folder an hour earlier. He opened it now, spreading the contents across the polished surface. Birth certificate, school records, social media printouts, and, beneath it all, the documents that mattered. Elena Maria Alvarez, he read aloud. Married Emilio Alvarez in 1999, gave birth to Lena Sofia Alvarez in 2006. Changed their surnames to Reyes in 2007, 6 months after Emilio disappeared. He looked up at Marcus. Officially, the Coast Guard declared it a boating accident. No body recovered. But unofficially, Emilio Alvarez didn't die in an accident. He was murdered. Victor pulled out a faded newspaper clipping, the headline barely legible, shipping magnate missing at sea. Fortune in question. The Alvarez family controlled half the legitimate shipping routes along the East Coast, and all of the illegitimate ones. Drugs, weapons, people. If it moved on water, the Alvarez family took their cut. Marcus whistled low. And the girl inherits all of it. Technically, yes. If she can prove her identity, and if she survives long enough to claim it, Victor pulled out another document, a legal brief from 2008. After Emilio died, his brother Carlos tried to take control of the empire. But the family constitution required a blood heir. Carlos spent years searching for Elena and the child, but Elena was smart. She disappeared into suburban Connecticut, changed her name, raised her daughter as an ordinary American kid. So what changed? Why is everyone suddenly looking for her now? Victor's jaw tightened. Carlos Alvarez died last month. Heart attack in his villa in the Bahamas. No heirs of his own. According to the family constitution, the entire Alvarez fortune, estimated at $200 million in legitimate assets alone, not counting the underground operations, goes to the next blood heir. The girl. Victor picked up another document, this one printed just hours ago. And every crew from Boston to Miami knows it. My contacts say at least 3 organizations are actively searching for her. The Kozlov Bratva out of Brighton Beach, the Santos Cartel from Miami, and the Quan Syndicate in New York. Whoever finds her first and controls her gets access to shipping routes worth billions in the long term. Marcus crossed his arms. Controlling her means what, exactly? Forcing her to sign documents? Marriage? Or simply eliminating her and installing their own puppet to run the operations, claiming authority through force? Victor's voice went cold. Lena Reyes is a target, Marcus. She just doesn't know it yet. And we're protecting her because... Victor was quiet for a long moment. He picked up one more photograph from the folder. Old, creased, showing a much younger Victor standing beside a weathered man with kind eyes. Emilio Alvarez. 23 years ago, I was 16 years old and stupid enough to steal from a crew running protection rackets in South Boston. They caught me, were about to make an example. Emilio Alvarez happened to be meeting with their boss that night. He saw the whole thing. Victor's thumb traced the edge of the photograph. He convinced them to let me go. More than that, he took me under his wing. Taught me about loyalty, about building something that lasts instead of just taking what you can grab. Everything I am, everything I've built, started because Emilio Alvarez gave a foolish kid a second chance.
So, this is a debt.
This is family. Victor set the photograph down carefully. Emilio told me once that if anything ever happened to him, his daughter would need protection. He made me promise. I was young, thought he was being paranoid. But he knew. He knew the sharks would come eventually. Marcus nodded slowly. What's the play? First, we confirm the girl's identity beyond any doubt. I need Sarah to pull DNA records if they exist, verify the family lineage. Second, we watch the mother. Elena knows something, and I need to know what she's hiding. Third, Victor pulled out his phone and looked at the messages people had sent an hour ago. We deal with the ex-boyfriend problem before he causes more trouble. The college kid? He's not connected. No, but he's panicking, and panicked people do stupid things. Like going back to campus asking questions. Victor's expression hardened. We also have reports that someone else contacted him this morning. Someone asking about the Alvarez girl. Marcus tensed. Which crew? Unknown. But if they've already connected Lena to her real identity through the boyfriend, Victor trailed off, the implication's clear. Then they'll move fast. Exactly. Victor grabbed his coat from the chair. Get a protection detail on the hospital. Discreet but thorough. The girl gets released today, and when she does, I want eyes on her 24/7. She goes nowhere without us knowing. And if she refuses protection? Victor remembered Lena's face in the stairwell, bruised, frightened, but still conscious enough to tell him her name. Still brave enough to trust a stranger. He thought about Emilio, about the promise he'd made all those years ago. Then we protect her anyway, he said. Whether she wants it or not. The afternoon sun felt too bright after the dim hospital room. Lena climbed carefully into her mother's Honda, every movement sending sharp reminders through her bruised body. The pain medication had worn off an hour ago, and she'd refused another dose, wanting to keep her head clear. Seatbelt, her mother said automatically, then realized Lena was already reaching for it, wincing as the strap crossed her injured shoulder. They drove in silence through Boston traffic, her mother's knuckles white on the steering wheel. Lena watched the city roll past, brick buildings, coffee shops, college students walking in clusters, and tried to reconcile this normal world with the strange tension radiating from her mother. Are you going to tell me what that man said to you? Lena finally asked. Her mother's jaw tightened. Which man? Don't. I saw you talking to him through the window. The one who saved me.
Victor.
He didn't tell you his name? Yes, he did. In the stairwell, before the ambulance came, Lena shifted to face her mother, ignoring the protest from her ribs. Mom, what's going on? Why did he have a photo of Dad's pendant? And why did you look so scared when he showed it to you? Elena was quiet for a long moment, navigating onto the highway toward their home in Newton, a quiet suburb 20 minutes outside the city. Finally, she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. Your father's family was complicated. Complicated how? I can't. Her mother's voice cracked. Not yet, Mija.
Please.
Just let me get you home safe. Then we'll talk. The house looked exactly as Lena had left it 2 days ago, a modest 2-story colonial with blue shutters and a garden her mother tended obsessively. Normal. Safe. Except when they pulled into the driveway, Lena noticed the black SUV parked across the street. Engine off. Windows tinted dark. Who's that? She asked. Her mother barely glanced at it. Probably insurance investigators. There's been a string of break-ins in the neighborhood. Everyone's on edge. But her mother's hands were shaking as she helped Lena out of the car. Inside, the house smelled like her mother's cooking, garlic, cilantro, the remnants of last night's dinner that Elena had abandoned when she'd gotten the hospital call. Lena settled onto the couch while her mother fussed in the kitchen, refusing help, insisting Lena needed rest. Through the living room window, Lena could see the SUV. It had been there when they arrived, and it was still there now. Not moving. Just watching. Her phone buzzed. Jess had dropped off a replacement from Lena's dorm room that morning. A text from her roommate. How are you feeling? Campus is going crazy with rumors about what happened. Call me when you can. Lena didn't know how to respond. What could she say? That her ex pushed her downstairs and then mysterious men in expensive suits showed up? That her mother was hiding something about her dead father? That she felt like a character in someone else's story. She set the phone down and noticed the mail on the coffee table. Bills, mostly. A catalog. And underneath, partially hidden, an envelope with no postage stamp, no return address. Just her mother's name written in neat block letters. Lena pulled it out. The envelope was already open, the letter inside visible. She knew she shouldn't read her mother's mail, but something about the handwriting made her stomach twist. Mrs. Reyes, the monthly arrangement continues as agreed. Deposit will arrive on the 15th as usual. No contact necessary. Your discretion is appreciated. Lena, I made you tea. Her mother appeared in the doorway, tray in hand, and froze when she saw the letter. That's private. Someone's been sending you money. Lena's voice came out flat. Monthly. For how long? Lena. How long, Mom? Elena set the tray down with shaking hands. 18 years. Since your father died. The number hit like a physical blow. 18 years? Someone's been paying you for 18 years and you never thought to mention it. It's not what you think. Then what is it? Protection money? Hush money. Lena's mind raced, pieces clicking together.
Victor.
He's the one who's been sending it, isn't he? That's why you freaked out when you saw him at the hospital. You knew who he was. Her mother sank into the armchair, suddenly looking much older than her 45 years. Your father saved his life when Victor was just a boy. Before you were born. After your father died, Victor. He made sure we were taken care of. Kept his distance, but made sure we had what we needed. Why would a stranger do that? Because your father wasn't just anyone, Lena. He was important. Powerful. And Victor is. She stopped, choosing her words carefully. Victor is someone who pays his debts. What kind of important? What kind of powerful? Lena's voice rose. Stop talking in riddles. The window suddenly shattered. Both women screamed. A brick tumbled across the carpet, wrapped in paper and rubber bands. Lena's mother lunged forward, pushing Lena down behind a couch as glass rained across the room. Stay down. Elena's voice had transformed. No longer the gentle mother, but something harder, sharper, like steel wrapped in silk. Outside, car doors slammed. Shouting in the street. The SUV that had been watching their house roared to life, tires squealing as it pulled a sharp U-turn. Elena crawled across the glass-strewn floor and grabbed the brick. She unwrapped the paper with trembling hands, read what was written there, and her face went white as bone. Mom? What does it say? Her mother looked at her, tears streaming down her face. We have to leave. Right now.
What? Why?
Because they know who you are, Elena grabbed Lena's arm, pulling her toward the back door. They know you're Emilio Alvarez's daughter, and they're coming for what they think you owe them. I don't understand. Your father wasn't a shipping executive, Lena. He was a crime lord, and you just inherited his empire. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. The sound should have been comforting, but the way her mother's hand tightened on her arm told Lena that the police weren't coming to help. They were already too late. The downtown dive was the kind of bar where questions weren't asked and answers weren't expected. Tyson had been there since 8 p.m., watching the bottom of his fourth beer like it held answers to the impossible situation his life had become. 3 phone calls. 3 different people, all asking about Lena. His phone sat on the scarred wooden bar, screen dark but feeling dangerous nonetheless. Any minute it could ring again. Any minute someone else could call with threats or questions or, worse, offers. Another? The bartender, a grizzled man with navy tattoos snaking up both arms, gestured at the empty bottle. Yeah, Tyson's words came out slurred. Keep him coming. He shouldn't be here. He should be in his dorm, keeping his head down like the first caller had warned. But after the third call, the one asking about an inheritance and the Alvarez girl, paranoia had driven him out. His room felt like a trap. The fraternity house felt exposed. The bar, at least, was anonymous. The bartender slid a fresh beer across the counter. Tyson grabbed it and took a long pull, trying to drown the memory of Lena falling, the sound her body had made hitting the concrete, the way she'd looked at him with confusion and hurt before her eyes had glazed over. He hadn't meant to push her that hard. He just wanted her to listen, to understand what she'd done to his reputation. But now everything was spiraling out of control, and he couldn't figure out why everyone suddenly cared about some random freshman. Unless she wasn't random. Alvarez. That name kept bouncing around his brain. He'd heard it before, somewhere. Something his older brother had mentioned once about organized crime in Boston, back when Derek was doing his criminology thesis at Northeastern. Tyson pulled out his phone and typed Alvarez Crime Family Boston into Google. His eyes widened as results filled the screen. News articles from the 2000s. Federal investigations. A shipping empire that fronted for drug trafficking and money laundering. And then, buried in a 20-year-old article, Emilio Alvarez, presumed dead at sea, leaves behind wife Elena and infant daughter. Holy shit, Tyson whispered. Lena was that daughter. Which meant she was heir to some kind of criminal fortune. Which meant every thug and mobster in the city probably wanted a piece of her. Which meant he'd just pushed a Mafia princess down a flight of stairs. You look like you've seen a ghost, kid, the voice came from his left. Tyson turned to find 2 men settling onto bar stools beside him, one tall and thin with slicked-back hair, the other shorter and built like a bulldog, with a neck tattoo that disappeared under his collar. I'm fine, Tyson said quickly, pocketing his phone. Are you? The thin one smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Because you look like a man with problems. We appreciate men with problems. There's so much more. Reasonable. Tyson's pulse kicked up. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you do. The bulldog leaned closer, and Tyson caught the smell of cigarettes and something chemical. You're Tyson Mitchell. Economics major, Sigma Chi, dating history that includes one Lena Reyes. Currently wanted for questioning regarding an incident at BU 2 nights ago. I didn't do anything. We're not cops, kid. Relax, the thin one gestured to the bartender for drinks. We're just interested parties. Heard you might know something about the girl. Where she is. Who she's with. Tyson's mind raced. These had to be some of the people who'd called him. People looking for Lena. People who knew about the Alvarez connection. I don't know where she is, he said carefully. We broke up. I haven't talked to her. Really? The bulldog pulled out his phone and showed Tyson a photo, taken that morning, apparently, of Tyson knocking on Jess's door. Because you were asking questions about her just 12 hours ago. That doesn't sound like someone who's moved on. Sweat prickled down Tyson's spine. I was just checking if she was okay. After the fall. The fall you caused, the thin one's smile sharpened. See, here's what we know. The girl is connected. Someone powerful is protecting her, possibly Victor Marino, though we're still confirming. What we don't know is where Marino is keeping her, or if she's already signed over access to her father's holdings. Her father's dead, but his empire isn't. Shipping routes, port access, established smuggling corridors, all waiting for the right person to reactivate them. The thin one leaned in. Tell me, Tyson, did the girl ever mention family business? Bank accounts? Property deeds? Anything like that?
No.
Nothing. She worked at a bookstore. She studied English. She was normal. The bulldog laughed, a sound like gravel in a disposal. Nobody's normal, kid. Everybody's got secrets. The question is whether you're smart enough to profit from hers. I don't want any part of this. Too late. The thin one pulled something from his jacket, a small recording device. He pressed play, and Tyson heard his own voice from the alley 2 nights ago. I didn't mean to. She just fell. It was an accident. His blood turned to ice. Where did you get that? We have eyes everywhere. And ears. The thin one pocketed the recorder. Here's the deal. You help us find out where Marino is keeping the Alvarez girl, and this recording disappears. You refuse, and it ends up with the police, along with testimony from several witnesses who saw you push her. That's blackmail. That's business. The bulldog slid a business card across the bar. Just a phone number, no name. You've got 24 hours to decide. Find out where she is, call that number. Or spend the next decade in prison for attempted murder. Your choice. They stood and walked out, leaving Tyson alone with his beer and the business card burning a hole in his vision. His phone buzzed. Another unknown number. Against every instinct, he answered. Tyson Mitchell, a different voice this time, older, with a faint accent he couldn't place. You are being watched by the Santos organization. Whatever they offered you, we'll double it. The girl's location and current status. You have 12 hours. The line went dead. Tyson stared at his phone, then at the business card, then at his reflection in the mirror behind the bar. He looked like exactly what he was, a scared college kid way out of his depth. But maybe there was a way out. If everyone wanted Lena's location, maybe he could play them against each other. Get money from both sides, then disappear. Change schools, change cities, start over somewhere these people couldn't find him. He pulled out his phone and opened Instagram, searching for Jess's profile. She'd posted a story 3 hours ago, a photo of flowers with a caption, "Get well soon, babe. I can't wait to visit you at your mom's place tomorrow." Tyson's hands shook as he screenshot the post. Lena was at her mother's house. In Newton, probably. He remembered her mentioning the suburb once. He had what they wanted. The question was, which side should he sell it to? Or better yet, could he sell it to both and vanish before either realized they'd been played? Tyson pocketed the business card, finished his beer, and stumbled out into the Boston night, convinced he'd just found his way out of this nightmare. He had no idea he'd just signed Lena's death warrant. The campus cafe was crowded with Monday morning students, all clutching overpriced lattes and cramming for midterms. Lena sat in the corner booth, her hood pulled up, sunglasses hiding the fading bruise around her eye. She'd insisted on coming back to campus despite her mother's protests, needing some sense of normalcy after the weekend's chaos. The police had come Saturday night after the brick through the window. They'd taken statements, filed a report about vandalism, and left with promises to increase patrols in the area. Her mother had packed bags anyway, ready to run, but Lena had refused. She was tired of hiding from shadows she didn't understand. She stirred her coffee, watching the steam rise, when a presence appeared beside her table. "This seat taken?" Lena looked up. Victor Marino stood there in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her entire semester's tuition, holding a simple black coffee. He didn't wait for permission, just slid into the booth across from her with the easy confidence of someone used to taking what he wanted. "How did you find me?" Lena asked, pulling her sunglasses down enough to meet his eyes. "I've been having you followed since you left the hospital. For your safety, he said it matter-of-factly, like tracking someone was a reasonable Monday morning activity. You shouldn't be here. Your dorm room, maybe, but not sitting alone in a public cafe with 3 unsecured exits. I'm not alone now, she pushed the sunglasses back up. And I don't need a bodyguard. You need several. Actually, Victor took a sip of his coffee, his dark eyes never leaving her face. Someone threw a brick through your window Saturday night. Someone has been asking questions about you all over the city. And your ex-boyfriend is currently being courted by 2 separate criminal organizations, both of whom want to know your location. Lena's stomach dropped. How do you know about Tyson? Because it's my job to know, he leaned forward slightly. Tell me, Lena, has your mother explained who your father really was? She said he was involved in shipping. That he was powerful, the word felt inadequate. That he died 20 years ago. Emilio Alvarez didn't just ship goods. He controlled the entire East Coast maritime smuggling network. Drugs, weapons, human trafficking. If it moved on water between Miami and Boston, your father took a cut. Victor's voice remained neutral, stating facts without judgment. When he died, the empire fractured. His brother tried to hold it together, but without a legitimate heir, different factions started carving up territories. It's been a cold war for 2 decades. And now his brother is dead, and you're the only blood heir left. Which means legally, morally, and practically, you inherit everything, including control of shipping routes worth billions to the right buyer. Lena laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. I'm a college freshman. I work at a bookstore. I don't know anything about shipping or smuggling or... I know, for the first time, something like sympathy crossed Victor's face. Your mother did an excellent job protecting you from all of this. She changed your name, raised you far from the business, kept you ordinary. It was smart. It kept you alive. Until now. Until now, he agreed. The Santos cartel out of Miami wants your routes to expand their cocaine distribution. The Kozlov Bratva wants your port access for weapons trafficking. The Kwan Syndicate wants to absorb your entire operation into theirs. And those are just the major players. There are a dozen smaller crews circling, waiting for an opening. Lena's hands shook around her coffee cup. So what do I do? Go to the police? The police can't help you. Half of them are on someone's payroll already. Victor reached into his jacket and pulled out a phone. Small, cheap, a burner. He slid it across the table. But I can. Why? Lena stared at the phone like it might bite her. Why do you care what happens to me? Victor was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried a weight that made Lena look up. 23 years ago, I was 16 and stupid. I tried to rob a shipment belonging to the Irish crew that ran South Boston back then. They caught me, dragged me into a warehouse, were about to put a bullet in my head as a message to other would-be thieves. He paused, his jaw tight with memory. Your father was there meeting with their boss. He watched them beat me half to death, and then he did something I still don't fully understand. He told them to stop. Said I reminded him of himself at that age, angry, desperate, too proud to ask for help. He saved you. More than that, he took me in, taught me how the real world works, how to build something instead of just taking from others, how to be smart instead of just brutal. Victor's eyes locked on hers. Everything I am, everything I've built, exists because your father gave a foolish kid a second chance. He made me promise that if anything ever happened to him, I'd look after his family. Lena felt tears prick her eyes. I didn't know he was like that. Mom never talks about him. She's trying to protect you from his world. But that world found you anyway. Victor gestured at the phone. I can keep you safe, Lena. I have resources, connections, people loyal to me. But I need you to trust me. I don't even know you. You know I pulled you out of that stairwell when I could have walked away. You know I've been paying your mother's expenses for 18 years, asking nothing in return. You know. He stopped, his expression hardening as he looked past her shoulder toward the cafe entrance. Lena turned. 3 men had just walked in, spreading out casually, but their eyes were scanning the room with purpose. Looking for something. Or someone. Don't move, Victor said quietly, his hand moving inside his jacket. Don't look at them. Just listen carefully. In about 30 seconds, you're going to stand up, walk toward the bathroom at the back of the cafe, and go out the emergency exit. My car is waiting in the alley. Gray Mercedes, license plate starting with 7 Alpha. Get in and lock the doors. What about you? I'm going to have a conversation with these gentlemen about manners. His smile was cold and dangerous. Now go. Walk normally. Don't run. Lena stood on shaking legs, grabbed her bag, and headed toward the back. She could feel eyes following her, could sense the shift in the cafe's energy as the 3 men noticed her movement. Behind her, she heard Victor's voice, loud and jovial. Gentlemen, you must be lost. This is a college cafe. The Gentlemen's Club is 3 blocks east. The bathroom door closed behind her, muffling whatever came next. Lena burst through the emergency exit into the alley, where a gray Mercedes idled exactly as Victor had promised. She climbed inside and locked the doors, her heart hammering. Through the tinted windows, she watched Victor emerge from the cafe 2 minutes later, completely calm, straightening his tie. The 3 men didn't follow. He got into the driver's seat and pulled away smoothly, like they were just heading to brunch. What did you say to them? Lena asked. I reminded them that starting a war in a public place with witnesses and security cameras would be bad for everyone's business. Victor glanced at her in the rearview mirror. But they'll be back. And next time, they won't be so polite. Lena looked down at the burner phone in her hand, then back at Victor. Where are we going? Somewhere safe. Somewhere I can protect you while we figure out how to end this. He met her eyes in the mirror. Do you trust me? Lena thought about Tyson pushing her down the stairs. About her mother's tears and 18 years of secrets. About 3 men hunting her in a cafe for crimes her father committed before she was born. I don't have much choice, do I? No, Victor said quietly. You really don't. The safe house was 40 minutes outside Boston, a converted farmhouse tucked behind a wall of pine trees that made it invisible from the road. Victor had driven in silence while Lena texted her mother from the burner phone, lying that she was staying with Jess for a few days to catch up on schoolwork. Her mother had replied immediately, Be careful. Don't trust anyone. Too late for that, Lena thought, watching Victor unlock 3 separate deadbolts on the front door. Inside, the house was surprisingly normal. Hardwood floors, comfortable furniture, a kitchen that looked actually used. Not the concrete bunker she'd half expected. There's food in the fridge, clean towels in the bathroom upstairs, Victor said, checking his phone. I need to make some calls. You should rest. I can't rest. I can't just sit here while... Lena's voice cracked. My entire life is falling apart. Victor looked at her for a long moment, then gestured to the couch.
Seat.
I'll make coffee. Then we'll talk. 20 minutes later, Lena was curled in the corner of the couch, hands wrapped around a mug, while Victor explained the impossible situation she'd inherited. Your father's empire was built on something most criminals forget, legitimacy, he said, pacing by the window. He had legal shipping companies, real contracts, actual businesses. The smuggling was hidden inside legitimate operations. When he died, your Uncle Carlos tried to maintain that balance, but he was too greedy. He let the criminal side grow too visible, attracted too much federal attention. And now the legitimate businesses are worth about $200 million. The criminal network, if someone could reactivate it properly, is worth 10 times that. Victor's jaw tightened. Every crew in the Northeast wants access to those routes. But according to your father's constitution, only a blood heir can authorize operations. So they need me to sign something?
Or force you to.
Or marry you to someone in their organization. Or, he stopped, but Lena understood the unspoken option. Kill me and pretend they have authorization. Yes. Lena set down her coffee, her hands shaking too much to hold it. I don't want any of this. I don't want the money or the businesses or the criminal empire. Can't I just sign it all away? Give it to someone else? You could try. But that would start a war over who gets what. Safer to have you disappear entirely. Victor moved to sit across from her. There's another option. What? You claim your inheritance. Legitimately. Use the legal businesses to establish yourself as the rightful heir, then systematically dismantle the criminal operations. Sell off the smuggling routes to the highest bidder, distribute the territory peacefully, and walk away with enough money to live comfortably for the rest of your life. And you'd help me do this because I promised your father I'd protect his daughter. And because a peaceful transition is better for everyone than a bloody war. Victor's eyes were steady. I'm not a good man, Lena. But I'm trying to be better than I was. Helping you might be the closest I get to redemption. Before Lena could respond, Victor's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his expression turned to stone. What? We need to leave. Now he was already moving toward the door. My people just spotted someone watching your mother's house. And she's not answering her phone. They broke every speed limit getting back to Newton. Victor made call after call, his voice sharp with commands Lena didn't fully understand. When they pulled onto her street, police lights were already painting the houses red and blue. Stay in the car, Victor ordered, but Lena was already opening the door. She ran toward her house, her injured shoulder screaming in protest. A police officer tried to stop her, but she pushed past, screaming for her mother. The front door was splintered, hanging on one hinge. Inside, the house was destroyed, furniture overturned, drawers pulled out, papers scattered everywhere. Someone had torn through every room searching for something. Mom. Lena's voice echoed through the empty house. Mom, where are you? A sound from upstairs, a muffled thump. Lena took the stairs two at a time, Victor close behind her. Her mother's bedroom door was locked. Lena pounded on it.
Mom.
It's me. Open the door. Scraping sounds. Then the lock clicked. The door cracked open, and her mother's terrified face appeared. Behind her, Lena could see the closet door ajar, the space inside barely big enough for one person. Mija, Elena pulled her into a fierce hug, then saw Victor behind her and froze. What is he doing here? He's helping me. Mom, what happened? 3 men. Maybe 4. They came just after dark, Elena's voice shook. They broke down the door, before I could even call 911. I ran upstairs and hid in the closet. I heard them downstairs, tearing everything apart. They were looking for something. Documents, they kept saying. Where are the documents? Victor's expression darkened. The inheritance papers. They think you have proof of Lena's claim. I don't have anything. Emilio never told me about any documents. He kept that part of his life separate from us. Elena's hands clutched Lena's arms. They said they'd be back. That next time I should cooperate, or they'd take you instead. Sirens wailed closer. The police officer from downstairs called up. Ma'am? The detective is here. We need to take your statement. Victor stepped closer, lowering his voice. The police can't help you. Whoever sent those men has resources, connections. They'll be back tonight or tomorrow, and next time they won't run when they hear sirens. What are you suggesting? Elena's eyes flashed with anger and fear. That we run? That we hide? I've been hiding for 20 years. I'm suggesting you let me protect you both. I have a secure location, people I trust. You'll be safe while we figure out how to end this permanently. I don't trust you. Mom. Lena started, but her mother cut her off. You don't know him, Lena. You don't know what men like him are capable of. I know he saved my life. Lena's voice rose. I know someone threw me down the stairs and he got me to the hospital. I know men are hunting me for something I didn't ask for, and he's the only one offering to actually help. Elena looked at her daughter, then at Victor, then at the destroyed bedroom around them. Finally, she pulled something from her pocket, a small key on a chain. There is one thing, she said quietly. A safety deposit box. Emilio gave me the key before he died. Made me promise never to open it unless Lena's life was in danger, her voice broke. I think we're past that point.
Victor nodded slowly.
Where? First National Bank. Downtown Boston. Box 347-inch. Footsteps pounded up the stairs. The police detective appeared in the doorway, notepad in hand. Mrs. Reyes? I need to ask you some questions about. Tomorrow, Victor said smoothly, pulling out his wallet and flashing something that made the detective pause. The family has had a severe trauma. I'm their attorney. We'll come to the station first thing tomorrow morning to give a full statement. The detective looked skeptical but nodded. 9 a.m. Don't make me come looking for you. As the police cleared out, Victor turned back to Elena. Pack what you need for 3 days. We leave in 10 minutes. Where are we going? Somewhere they won't find you. And tomorrow, we open that safety deposit box and find out what your husband thought was worth dying to protect. Lena watched her mother disappear into her room to pack, then looked at Victor. What if the box is empty? What if there's nothing there? Then we're out of options. His expression was grim. And the war for your father's empire begins whether we want it to or not. The new safe house was closer to the city, a penthouse apartment in a high-rise that Victor owned under a shell corporation. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Boston Harbor, and security cameras monitored every entrance. 2 of Victor's men stood guard in the hallway. Lena's mother had barely spoken during the drive, clutching her overnight bag like a lifeline. Now she stood at the window, staring out at the city lights, her reflection ghostly in the glass. You should eat something, Lena said softly, gesturing at the takeout Victor had ordered. I'm not hungry, Elena's voice was hollow. I spent 18 years keeping you away from this world. 18 years building a normal life. And in 3 days, it all collapsed. Victor emerged from one of the bedrooms, phone in hand. The bank opens at 9. We'll go first thing tomorrow, get whatever's in that safety deposit box, and figure out our next move. Our next move. Elena turned, her eyes blazing. There is no R. You're not family. You're not even a friend. You're a criminal who thinks he owns my daughter because you knew her father. Mom, Lena started, but Victor held up a hand. You're right. I'm a criminal. I've broken laws, hurt people, built an empire on violence and fear. His voice was calm, matter of fact. But I'm also the only thing standing between your daughter and a dozen organizations that want to use her or kill her. So you can hate me all you want, Mrs. Reyes. Just do it from behind the protection I'm offering. Protection you're offering because of some debt you think you owe. What happens when that debt is paid? When you decide helping us is more trouble than it's worth. That won't happen. You can't promise that. Actually, I can. Victor moved to the window, standing a few feet from Elena. Your husband saved my life when no one else gave a damn if I lived or died. He taught me that loyalty means something. That family, real family, isn't just blood. It's the people you choose to stand beside when everything falls apart. He looked at Lena. I chose your family 23 years ago. That choice doesn't have an expiration date. Elena's shoulders sagged. I just want my daughter safe. Then let me help. Please. The moment hung between them, fragile as glass. Finally, Elena nodded once shortly. Victor's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his expression changed. We have a problem. What now?
Lena asked.
My contact at Boston PD just sent a report. They picked up Tyson Mitchell an hour ago. He was trying to sell information about your location to an undercover officer he thought was Santos cartel. Lena's blood ran cold. He what? He's been playing both sides. The Santos organization and the Kozlov Bratva both approached him, trying to use him to get to you. He recorded conversations, took their money, and was about to give up your mother's address when the police grabbed him. So, he's in custody. That's good, right? Victor's expression was grim. He told them about this morning at the cafe. Described me, my car, even mentioned the safe house outside the city. He doesn't know about this location yet, but if anyone briefs him out or makes bail, they'll come here, Elena finished. Not here. He doesn't know about this place. But he's compromised enough of my operation that we need to move faster than planned. Victor turned to Lena. Tomorrow at the bank, we get those documents. Then you make a choice. What choice? You can run. I'll give you new identities, money, set you up in another country. You disappear completely, and eventually the people looking for you will move on to easier targets, he paused. Or you can fight. Fight. Lena laughed bitterly. I'm 19 years old. I don't know anything about this world. But I do. And your father's documents, whatever they are, might give us leverage. Information other organizations want, or proof of operations they'd rather keep hidden. Victor's eyes were intense. If we play this right, we can make you too dangerous to kill and too valuable to ignore. We force a negotiation, divide your father's empire peacefully, and you walk away with enough money and protection to live however you want. And if we play it wrong, then people die. Probably starting with us. Elena made a sound of protest, but Lena spoke first. What would fighting even look like? First, we find out what your father left you. Second, we use that information to call a meeting, all the major players at once. Third, we make a deal. You authorize the division of your father's territory in exchange for permanent immunity. Everyone gets something, nobody gets everything, and the war ends before it starts. You make it sound simple. It's not. It's dangerous, complicated, and could go wrong in 100 ways. Victor's voice softened slightly. But it's the only way to truly end this. Running just delays the problem. Fighting gives you control over your own life. Lena looked at her mother, who had tears streaming down her face. Mom, I can't make this decision for you, Mija. You're not a child anymore. This is your life, your choice. Elena's voice cracked. I just want you to survive. Lena moved to the window, staring out at the city where her father had built an empire, where he'd lived and died, where his legacy now threatened to consume his daughter. She thought about Tyson pushing her down the stairs, about mysterious men hunting her, about a life spent hiding from shadows. She was tired of being afraid, tired of running from a past she didn't understand. I want to fight, she said quietly. I want to end this.
Victor nodded slowly.
Then tomorrow we start.
Get some rest.
You're going to need it. As Lena headed toward one of the bedrooms, her mother caught her hand. Your father would be proud of you, Elena whispered. And terrified. Just like I am.
Lena squeezed back.
I'm terrified too. But I'm done letting other people control my life. She lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, listening to Victor's men talking quietly in the hallway. Somewhere out there, people were planning to kill her, use her, control her. But tomorrow, she'd start fighting back. She touched the pendant at her throat, her father's crest, the 3 ships crossing waves. She was an Alvarez, whether she'd known it or not. And it was time to claim what that meant. The abandoned warehouse smelled like rust and old fish, remnants of Boston's industrial past. Tyson's hands were bound behind his back with zip ties, cutting into his wrists. His head throbbed where they'd hit him, once in the car, once when he'd tried to run. Please, he whispered into the darkness. This is a mistake. Footsteps echoed across concrete. Someone flipped on a work light, blinding him. As his eyes adjusted, Tyson saw 3 figures emerge from the shadows, the same 2 men from the bar, plus a third he didn't recognize. Older, with silver hair and a scar that ran from his temple to his jaw. Tyson Mitchell, the older man's voice carried a faint accent, Spanish maybe. Do you know why you're here?
No.
I didn't do anything. You took money from the Kozlov Bratva. You took money from us. You promised both organizations information about Lena Reyes, and then you got arrested trying to sell that same information to a police officer. The man circled slowly, hands clasped behind his back. That shows remarkably poor judgment. I was scared. Everyone kept calling me, threatening me. So, you decided to play us against each other. The thin man from the bar stepped forward. Bad move, college boy.
I'm sorry.
Please, just let me go. I won't say anything to anyone. The older man laughed, a cold sound that made Tyson's bladder clench. You'll say nothing because you know nothing useful. The question is whether you're worth keeping alive anyway. I know where she is. The words burst out of Tyson in a desperate rush.
Lena.
I know where Victor Marino is keeping her. That got their attention. The older man held up a hand, stopping the thin man from advancing. Where? There's a safe house. Outside the city, hidden in the woods. I saw it when I followed them from campus. The lie came easily, born of pure terror. I can show you. I can take you right to it. Interesting, the older man pulled out his phone, typed something, then showed Tyson a photo. Is this the location? Tyson stared at the aerial image of a farmhouse surrounded by trees. He had no idea if it was real or a test, but he nodded frantically.
Yes.
That's it. And Victor Marino is there with the girl right now? I think so. He took her there yesterday morning after the cafe. The older man studied him for a long moment, then nodded to the bulldog. Cut him loose. The zip ties fell away. Tyson rubbed his wrists, not quite believing his luck. So I can go? Not yet. First, you're going to tell us everything you know about the girl. Her habits, her friends, her relationship with Marino. Everything. I don't know much. We only dated for 3 months. Then you better remember those 3 months very clearly. The older man sat on a rusted metal crate. Start talking. For the next 20 minutes, Tyson spilled everything he could remember about Lena. Where she liked to study, her class schedule, her roommate's name, the bookstore where she worked. He embellished where necessary, invented details where his memory failed, desperate to seem useful enough to keep alive. And her mother, the older man prompted. What do you know about Elena Reyes? Not much. Lena said she was overprotective, never talked about her dad. They lived in Newton, quiet neighborhood. Tyson's mind raced. Wait, Lena mentioned once that her mom kept old documents in a safety deposit box. Family papers or something. She saw the key once when her mom was doing bills. That wasn't true. Lena had never mentioned any safety deposit box. But Tyson saw the flicker of interest in the older man's eyes and pressed his advantage. She said her mom got weird about it, made her promise never to ask about it again. Like it was some big secret. The older man pulled out his phone and made a call, speaking rapid Spanish. Tyson caught a few words: banco, documentos, mañana, tomorrow. They were planning something for tomorrow. When the call ended, the older man looked at Tyson with something almost like approval. You've been more helpful than expected. Relief flooded through Tyson. So I can go? We're good. Almost, the older man gestured, and the bulldog stepped forward again. But this time, he was holding a phone. Just one more thing. You're going to call your friend Marcus, the one who lives with Lena's roommate. You're going to ask him, very casually, if he's heard from Lena today. Where she is, what she's doing.
Can you do that? Yes.
Absolutely. They handed him the phone. Tyson dialed Marcus's number with shaking hands, praying his voice would sound normal. Yo, Tyson? Marcus answered, suspicious. Thought you were in jail. They let me out. Look, I just wanted to apologize for the other day, showing up at your door like that. I was messed up about Lena. Tyson forced a casual laugh. Have you heard from her? I wanted to make sure she's okay after the hospital. Why do you care? I just feel bad, man. The fall was my fault. Is she back on campus? A pause. Tyson could practically hear Marcus deciding whether to hang up. Finally, Jess said Lena's staying with her mom for a few days. Some break-in at their house. Pretty shaken up. Damn, that's scary. They okay? I guess. Jess is worried, but Lena's not really texting back. Said something about getting a new phone because hers got lost or broken. Well, tell Jess I hope everything's okay. Tyson ended the call before Marcus could ask more questions. The older man took the phone back, smiling. Very good. See how easy cooperation is. Can I go now?
Yes.
You can go. The older man nodded to the thin man, who grabbed Tyson's arm and started walking him toward the warehouse door. But Tyson? If you warn the girl, if you contact the police, if you do anything except go home and keep your mouth shut, we'll find you. Understand? I understand. They pushed him out into the night, and Tyson stumbled into the street, free, but not safe. Never safe again. As he walked toward the nearest bus stop, he pulled out his actual phone. They'd only taken the burner, and stared at it. He should warn someone. Call the police, call campus security, something. But if he did, those men would kill him. And if he didn't, they'd use the information he'd given them to find Lena. Tyson stood at the bus stop, shaking in the cold October air, realizing with crystalline clarity that he'd just traded Lena's life for his own. The bus arrived. He got on. And he said nothing to anyone. Victor's phone started ringing at 3:47 a.m. He was already awake, sitting in the darkened living room of the penthouse, watching the city lights and running scenarios in his head. By the second ring, he had his gun in hand. By the third, he was answering. Talk. We've got movement. Marcus's voice was tight with tension. 3 vehicles just turned onto the access road, leading to the old farmhouse. Military formation, lights off. This is a hit squad, Victor. How many? At least 12. Maybe more. They're equipped for a raid. Vests, rifles, the full package. Victor's jaw clenched. The farmhouse safe house had been compromised, just as he'd feared when Tyson had described it to the police. But Victor had anticipated this. The farmhouse had been empty since yesterday afternoon. Let them come, Victor said coldly. Execute Protocol 3. You're sure? I want to know who's running this operation. Let them breach. Let them find the empty house, then box them in. I want at least 2 alive for questioning. Copy that. Marcus ended the call. Victor stood and moved silently down the hallway. 2 of his men, Paolo and Chen, were already alert at their posts. He gave them hand signals, possible incoming, elevated readiness. Both nodded, checking their weapons. He paused outside the bedroom where Lena was sleeping. Through the crack in the door, he could see her curled under the blankets, finally getting rest after 2 days of chaos. Her mother slept in the adjoining room, exhausted from fear and adrenaline. They were safe here. This location was known only to Victor's inner circle, purchased under layers of shell corporations that would take weeks to trace. But the fact that someone had found the farmhouse meant his security had been breached somewhere.
Tyson had talked.
Or someone had followed Victor's people. Either way, the enemy was closer than comfortable. His phone buzzed with an incoming video feed. He opened it and watched in real time as 12 armed men surrounded the farmhouse, moving with professional precision. Military training, maybe former special forces. Someone had invested serious money in this operation. The breach was textbook, flashbangs through the windows, coordinated entry from 3 sides. Victor watched them flood through the empty house, weapons raised, clearing room after room. Finding nothing. Confusion rippled through their ranks. Radio chatter picked up by Victor's surveillance equipment crackled with frustration. Then, as his team had planned, the trap closed. Victor's men, 15 of them positioned in the woods around the farmhouse, opened fire. Not to kill, but to pin down. Bullets ripped through the night, shattering windows, forcing the raid team to take cover inside the very house they'd just invaded. This is the Boston Police. A loudspeaker blared from the woods. Victor's men, not actual cops. Drop your weapons and come out with your hands up. It was psychological warfare. Make them think they'd been set up, that law enforcement was involved. Make them panic.
It worked.
3 men bolted from the back door, hands raised, weapons abandoned. Victor's team scooped them up immediately. Inside the house, the remaining men were trapped, surrounded, outmaneuvered. Victor's phone rang again. We've got 3 in custody. The rest are barricaded inside. What's the play? Tell them they have 60 seconds to surrender, or we burn the house down with them in it. Copy. Victor watched the feed as the loudspeaker delivered his ultimatum. 30 seconds later, weapons started flying out the windows. Arms appeared, waving white strips of cloth torn from shirts. His team moved in, securing the prisoners with professional efficiency. 15 minutes later, Victor had 9 men in custody, 3 dead from the initial firefight, and a wealth of information about to be extracted. But then his phone rang again. Different number. His personal line that only 5 people knew. Yes. Mr. Marino. The voice was unfamiliar, polite, dangerous. While your men are playing games at an empty farmhouse, I thought you should know. We're currently outside your penthouse building. The one at Harbor Towers. The one you think nobody knows about. Victor's blood turned to ice. Who is this? My name is Dmitry Kozlov. You may have heard of my family. A pause. I'm calling as a courtesy, one professional to another. We don't want bloodshed in a residential building. Too many witnesses, too messy. So here's my offer. You send the girl down in the next 10 minutes, and everyone walks away. You refuse, and we come up through the lobby. Your 2 guards won't stop us. You're making a mistake. Am I? The Santos team you just captured at the farmhouse, that was a distraction. While you were watching them, we were watching you. We know the girl is there. We know her mother is there. We know you're there. Dimitri's voice hardened. 10 minutes, Mr. Marino. After that, things get ugly. The line went dead. Victor was already moving, pounding on both bedroom doors. Lena.
Elena.
Get up now. Both women stumbled out, bleary and confused. Lena's mother clutched a robe around herself. What's happening? They found us. We have maybe 8 minutes before they breached the building. Victor was strapping on a shoulder holster, grabbing a go bag from the closet. There's a service elevator that goes straight to the parking garage. We use that, we might make it out. Might? Lena's voice cracked. I won't lie to you. They're professionals and they're prepared. Victor handed Lena a jacket. Stay close to me. Do exactly what I say, and we'll get through this. Gunfire erupted from the hallway. Paolo's voice shouted a warning, then went silent. The sound of bodies hitting the floor. They'd come up the stairs, not waited for the elevator. They'd come faster than expected. Bedroom. Now, Victor shoved both women toward the master bedroom, the one with the reinforced door and panic room he'd installed when he bought the place. Lock yourselves in the bathroom. Don't come out until I tell you. Victor, Lena started. Go. He shut the bedroom door behind them and turned to face the hallway. Chun was down, bleeding but alive. The apartment door hung open, smoke grenades rolling across the floor. 4 men entered through the haze, weapons raised. Victor raised his gun and did what he'd always done best.
He fought.
The gunfire stopped as suddenly as it had started. Lena crouched in the bathroom with her mother, both of them pressed against the cold tile, hearts hammering. Elena gripped her daughter's hand so tightly it hurt, but Lena didn't pull away. They'd been hiding for what felt like hours but had probably been minutes. Then Victor's voice, calm but strained. It's over. You can come out. Lena opened the door slowly. The bedroom was untouched, but beyond it, the living room looked like a war zone. Bullet holes pocked the walls. Broken glass glittered on the hardwood. 3 bodies lay motionless near the entrance, not Victor's men. Victor stood by the window, blood seeping through his shirt sleeve, phone pressed to his ear. I don't care what it costs. Get them here in 20 minutes, he ended the call and turned to face them. We need to leave.
Now.
More will come. You're hurt, Lena said. I'm functional. That's what matters, he grabbed the go bag. Everything has changed. The Santos cartel's distraction, the Kozlov's real attack, they're coordinating now. That means they've decided you're worth risking a full-scale war. Then what do we do? Elena demanded, her voice shaking with anger and fear. Keep running? Keep fighting? Watch more people die. No, Victor's expression was grim. We end it.
Today.
The way I should have from the beginning. The coastal estate appeared through morning fog like something from a ghost story. Perched on a cliff overlooking the Atlantic, the mansion had been abandoned for years. Windows broken, paint peeling, gardens overgrown with wild roses that had long since forgotten they were supposed to be beautiful. This was your father's favorite place, Victor said as they approached in his armored Mercedes, having switched vehicles 3 times to lose any possible tail. He bought it the year you were born. Called it his honest house, the one place he could be himself instead of what everyone expected. Lena stared at the house, trying to imagine her father walking these grounds, and couldn't. He was still just photographs and stories, a shadow she'd never known. Inside, the house was gutted but structurally sound. Victor led them to what had once been a study, now empty except for dust and memories. He pulled up a corner of the rug, revealing a floor safe. "Your father showed me this once," Victor said, pulling out a small device and beginning to work on the combination. Said if anything happened to him, the truth would be waiting here. The safe clicked open. Inside were three things: a letter in a sealed envelope, a leather portfolio, and a single photograph of a young woman holding a baby, Elena and infant Lena. Victor handed the letter to Elena. "This is yours." Her hands shook as she opened it, eyes scanning the page. Tears started falling before she'd read halfway through. "Oh, Emilio," she whispered. "What does it say?" Lena asked gently. That he knew. Elena's voice broke. He knew someone would kill him eventually. That the empire he'd built was too big, too valuable, too tempting. He wrote this 2 weeks before he died. She looked at Lena, tears streaming down her face. He says his biggest regret was bringing you into a world where you'd inherit his sins. Victor opened the portfolio, spreading documents across the dusty floor. Lena knelt beside him, scanning page after page of shipping manifests, bank account numbers, property deeds, and something else, something that made Victor go very still. "What is it?" Lena asked. "Evidence." Victor's voice was quiet, almost awed. "Your father documented everything. Every corrupt official he paid off, every crew he worked with, every illegal shipment for the past 20 years. Names, dates, amounts. This isn't just an inheritance. It's an insurance policy. And a weapon." He pulled out one particular document, and Lena saw the names: Carlos Alvarez, Dmitry Kozlov,
Miguel Santos.
at least a dozen others, all connected through a web of illegal deals and mutual crimes. "Your father knew they'd come for his territory when he died," Victor said. "So he created this.
Mutually assured destruction.
If any organization moves against his heir, these documents go to the FBI, Interpol, every law enforcement agency that matters. Everyone goes down together." "So they can't touch me," Lena whispered. "More than that. You control them." Victor looked at her intently. "Every crew that wants your father's routes, every organization that thought they could force you to cooperate, they all answer to you now. Because you can destroy them with a single phone call." Elena stood, clutching her husband's letter. That's not what he wanted. Read the end. He says he wants Lena free from all of this. He wants her to have a normal life. Victor gathered the documents carefully. But first, she has to claim what's hers. Not the criminal empire, let that die with your father. But the legitimate businesses, the legal assets. That's $200 million in shipping companies, real estate investments. Money earned honestly, or at least laundered clean enough to pass legal scrutiny. He turned to Lena. "Here's what I propose. We call a meeting with every major player. You show them these documents, make it clear that attacking you means destroying themselves. Then you offer a deal. You'll authorize the peaceful division of your father's criminal territories. Each crew gets their piece, and in exchange they leave you and your family alone forever. You take the legal inheritance and walk away. And if they refuse, they won't. Because the alternative is FBI raids, RICO charges, and prison sentences that make death look appealing." Victor's smile was cold. "Your father was always 3 moves ahead. He protected you even from the grave." Lena looked at her mother, who nodded slowly. "It's your choice, Mija. It's always been your choice." Lena stood and walked to the broken window, looking out at the ocean crashing against rocks below. Somewhere out there, her father had died keeping these secrets, protecting her from a world he'd built but didn't want her to inherit. She touched the pendant at her throat, the 3 ships, the crown, the legacy she'd never asked for. "Set up the meeting," she said finally. "Let's end this." 3 weeks later, Lena stood in the office of Alvarez Shipping LLC, now legitimately hers, legally transferred, with a board of directors who answered to her. The criminal operations had been dissolved, territories divided, and the men who'd hunted her were now bound by a treaty backed by evidence that could destroy them all. Victor had been right. Her father had protected her perfectly. She looked out at Boston Harbor, watching ships come and go, and thought about the choice she'd made. To claim her heritage but remake it into something clean. Something her father had wanted but never achieved. Her phone buzzed. A text from her mother. "Dinner tonight? I'm making your favorite." And below that, another message, this one from Victor. "The board meeting went well. You're a natural. Your father would be proud." Lena smiled and typed back, "Thank you. For everything." She set the phone down and returned to the contracts on her desk. She had an empire to rebuild, not the one her father had created, but the one he'd dreamed of. Legitimate.
Honest. Hers.
And somewhere she hoped he was watching. Proud of the daughter who'd turned his sins into her redemption. The end.